Hello, everybody. I'm 33 with 2 kids, 12 and 8. When I found their dad was cheating on me with our younger son's school group mom, I divorced him. Despite that treachery, I agreed to split custody so my kids could grow up with their father. Only while picking them up for visits has he been around since the divorce. He often goes out with his stepchildren but rarely includes our kids, saying they're spontaneous. I gave up, but I've always believed it was unjust that he's so distant from our kids. My oldest son requested if we might give his old computer to his cousin, my brother's son, when I upgraded it. My brother is a big help to my kids. He takes them to the park or on vacations when I can't and takes them to school activities, however, is rarely obtainable. He always says he's out of town or busy when I seek for help. Though ironic, he's always there for his stepkids. He even battled with the stepkid's father at a school event, claiming he was allowed there. My ex was unhappy when I gave the computer to my nephew. He protested that if I could afford that present, I should have forgiven 2 months of child support he missed. With a newborn, his funds were tight. He said that I should have given a computer to his kids or stepkids, who shared one computer. I told him my funds were out of his business and I owed his stepchildren nothing. Suddenly, his wife accused me of indulging my son by purchasing him a new computer and of being petty for allowing him bring it home to show off to his step-siblings. I told her she couldn't insult me or question my judgments. I let my kids see their father so they can grow up with him, not so she can influence my parenting. My ex was outraged, but I informed him this might have been prevented if his wife hadn't inserted herself. Things settled down until last week. My ex looked upset when I picked up the kids. He told us he tried to read our youngest goodnight stories. He prefers being read to before bed by me, his brother, or my brother at home. During our absence, he listens to audiobooks. In an effort to connect, my ex offered to read to him, but our kid declined, stating he could do it himself. My ex listened as he searched his tablet for an 8-year-old story without a father and was moved. My ex offered to take our oldest son to basketball practice the next day, but he said he'd go with his dad. He promptly corrected to uncle. That enraged my ex. He accosted me when I picked up the kids. I informed him that if our kids feel fatherless, he's to blame. He accused me of pushing him out of his post. I told him he must take care of his kids, not me. I reminded him that he broke our family and spends more time with his stepkids than his own. I advised him not to kid himself. The kids are growing up and seeing his fatherly side. If this continues, he can't expect much from them. After that, his mom phoned me. She's always been kind to me, but I would have appreciated her care when she backed her son's affair, knowing her grandkids were losing their father. Since she hung up, we haven't spoken. My brother said I had a right to express how I feel, but maybe not in front of the kids. I was later texted by my ex that if I weren't so difficult, he'd spend more with them. I told him his fatherhood doesn't depend on my ease. I've never stopped him from seeing the kids. He likes stepkid outings above his own when he has to choose. He alone can fix that. Up, he replied. Custody agreement. The agreement was to split the time 50-50 with the new baby. Now he says he doesn't have space for both kids and only picks them up on weekends. When they're at his place, he doesn't take them anywhere the weekend passes, and OP goes out with his stepchildren and wife. Even when they stayed half the week with him, nothing changed. Present custody agreement. The agreement allows him to have them whenever he wants. To clarify, they can eat breakfast with me and supper with him on Monday. This deal means he sees them less than half the time he was supposed to. I don't know if this clarifies. But we're not American. Downvoted commenter. How LP knows all these things regarding his stepkid's relationship is also strange. This seems suspicious. At the end of the post, OP admits she's been called tough, therefore her wrath is warranted. However, if she fought for primary custody or the ex has to go through her for extracurricular scheduling, she's contributed to this predicament. My oldest son is Facebook friends with his father, step-siblings, and stepmother. He showed me stuff that way. My mother-in-law contacted me to explain why the kids didn't go somewhere with their father, so I learned about previous outings. She assumed I didn't provide permission and chastised him for lying about not wanting them to see their stepbrothers. Difficult because I just want 2 parents that respect each other and take care of their kids. No favors, no chats about non-kid matters. There was no custody fight. Downvoted commenter. Your 8-year-old son. I have one too, so don't lie. Looking for audiobooks about 8-year-olds without fathers? Without prompting? You anticipate our belief? I wasn't there. That's how my ex disclosed it. Not exactly, but like searching for kids' stories and seeing what comes up. I viewed it that way. I have no idea why my son searched for it that way. I inquired why he used that title, and he answered he wanted a story. November 21st, 2024, Update 1. Recent days have been odd. Hi folks. I start by thanking everyone. I didn't expect so much advice or that this app would be so valuable. It's unpopular in my nation. Get back to the topic. My ex texted me to resolve things, stop fighting, and chat. I concurred. He came to my residence and we got to the point. He inquired if I thought he was a bad dad. Looking back, I said that. His fatherhood would never have been my choice. He stated it was hard, and I said it was hard for me too because I play both roles. He said he couldn't leave his stepchildren without a father because he had shattered their family, but I reminded him that he had left his own children without a father. He cried and blamed me for not forgiving him or going to couples therapy after the adultery. I said him cruel things, but none were lies. He inquired. I didn't feel sorry for him in his current situation, so I declined. He questioned how I could be so callous, and I said that when I changed jobs, pulled my kids out of school 2 months before the end of the term, moved houses, and watched him disappoint our kids over and over again, any empathy I had went into apathy. He then left. His mother contacted me to say she knew what I told her son, that he hadn't stopped crying, and that she didn't understand how I could hurt her kid with so much anger. I should get over it, she said. I replied respectfully, speaking the truth. Your son's crying is because he's finally paying for his actions. You could have taught him responsibility and respect instead of worrying about how he feels. She asked whether I understood what it was like to feel a mother's love and see a child suffer. I responded I did because I have 2 children who cry for a live father. 2 youngsters who watch their father fathering other kids when he can't. His apology was given. I told her not to speak for him and to stop calling me about her son. I hung up. I wanted to cry, but I'm a damned mother and don't have time. My kids should feel safe, loved, and strong enough to be themselves without me. My ex-sister-in-law held my kid's cousin's birthday party on Thursday. Her mother encouraged the infidelity, which she told me about. We still get along. Angered, my ex arrived alone. He was disregarded by my kids after they kissed his hand. My ex-mother-in-law encouraged the kids to respect their father, and my eldest said he doesn't because he and his partner insulted me. I chastised my son for how he addressed his grandmother, not what he said. I warned him against listening to private discussions and repeating them. I asked him to pack because we were leaving. The kids were having fun, so my ex-mother-in-law begged me to stay and address things as adults. My ex denied remembering what he said when she inquired. After I responded I didn't care, she added we should be excellent parents. To be excellent parents, you must first be decent people. My ex was agitated. My ex-mother-in-law wondered why. We couldn't co-parent civilly. I told her about his free will to see the kids and how the second custody agreement isn't working because he only sees them on weekends. My ex refused to discuss it, saying he had too many kids. My ex-mother-in-law told him just his kids should be comfortable, and their biological father should comfort the others. After his mother chastised him for being an irresponsible father, my ex tried to end the conversation. He blamed me too. I requested him to explain my fault. Visit the youngsters whenever you wish. Want anything more? He yelled that I was being selfish since I made more than him and had fewer kids. I told him I'd end the conversation and show him what uncivilized is by filing for overdue child support. His mother inquired about late payments. I told him he was 3 months behind. She was angry, smacked him, and wanted to know what he did with his children's money. I couldn't let Junior miss out on my son's education, he said, not to make him feel inadequate. My ex-mother-in-law couldn't believe it. And they argued. Left. My ex pays for his stepson to attend my youngest son's private school. My ex-mother-in-law offered to pay the late fines yesterday. She brought cash. My ex would be outraged. My ex-mother-in-law lives with my ex-sister-in-law and doesn't work or own anything. She saved a lot from her inheritance. Despite her condition, my ex understands she won't leave anything for him if she pays the tuition. He's asked her to invest in his business ideas for years, but she's always declined. My ex retaliated by not picking up the kids this weekend. My ex-sister-in-law called yesterday. She doesn't know the details, but my ex's 15-year-old stepson punched him in the mouth. She'll tell me what occurred when she finds out. Before anyone asks, the new custody deal may take a year. The court prioritizes delinquent payments over the rest. The cases are more urgent. OP responded, Mill. She knew about the affair. She wasn't unpleasant because she never treated me poorly or was a bad mother-in-law. She covered for her son, which astonished me. She's been a good grandmother and didn't take sides in the divorce. Commenter, do certain cultures kiss hands? Never heard of it. No, not kissing hands. We asked our parents, grandparents, aunts, and godparents for their blessings in my culture. It sounds like Cyan, short for benediction, blessing. Sounding like Cyan, father, or benediction, father. School, I was upset when I learned. I sent my son to that school to keep him away from the cheating controversy at his prior school. November 22nd, 2024, Update 2. A promise is a promise. As indicated, my ex's stepson fought him because she wouldn't let him go out. Now I know more. My ex's Stepson planned to bowl with buddies. His biological father gave him permission and money for the trip. However, his mother informed him he couldn't go since he needed to stay home and supervise his younger siblings. With an outing scheduled, my ex and his wife wanted someone to watch the kids. It caused a fight. The youngster shouted at his mother, and my ex demanded respect. The boy said he wasn't his father. My ex told him to follow his rules as long as he lived with him to keep authority. The boy turned away and ignored him. My ex followed and patted his shoulder to grab his attention. At that point, the youngster swung around, punched him, and shouted that he was not his father and could never compare. The youngster yelled that he hated his mother when she chastised him. My ex and his wife told my ex-mother-in-law this. My sister-in-law relayed. They visited my ex-mother-in-law to get her compassion and convince her to watch the kids, 2 stepchildren, and infants so they could go out. However, my ex-mother-in-law refused to watch the kids. My ex told me he was having family troubles and that the boy's biological father was turning him against him. He didn't retell much of what my sister-in-law told me. He simply told me he couldn't pick up our kids this weekend, due to the situation. His biological father is housing the 15-year-old. My ex was 2 months behind on child support, and was supposed to pay again that week. Not doing so left him 3 months behind. His mother paid the late fee. My son's schoolmate isn't the 15-year-old who fought. His younger stepbrother is 8, like my son. I enrolled my son in that school after the affair became public. I was teaching kindergarten at the same school when the boy was there. I transferred my kids to a private school to avoid rumors as we all knew each other. This happened 2 months before school ended. The circumstances and kindness of others allowed us to admit them. I was asked how a kindergarten teacher could afford private school tuition. To clarify, I teach high school, not kindergarten, and education salaries vary widely by country. Teaching salaries are competitive in my nation. To clarify, tiny businesses cost $280, small businesses $315, medium-sized businesses $350, and large businesses. Education, early education, kindergarten, $370, $801,000 primary schooling, $901,100 secondary education, $1,101,300 secondary education with 5 years of experience, $1,300, $1,400 associate professor, master's $1,050, $1,400, full professor, PhD, $1,400, $1,750. As I said in several comments, living here is affordable. I'm not from the US, where living is more expensive. This salary is enough to live comfortably in my nation. My kids have a good life despite my poverty. Private school costs vary. Elite schools cost more than $120 per month, although there are cheaper institutions. We utilize local currencies, not dollars. Here, my other income sources are immaterial. To stop the rumors, people thought I was from different nations, computed my monthly tuition, and totaled my expenses. You merely forgot to calculate my divorce cost. I paid nothing, so spare yourself the effort. Ex departed with only clothing on his back. Take care not to choke. What about my kids' neglect? As long as I'm breathing, my kids are fine. Concern for my children was evident. A question for you. What about your kids? Are they fine? Have you paid for their care? When did you last see them? Please don't worry about my kids. If any of those users want additional data, email me and I'll gladly send you some bills to pay because you're interested in my finances and costs. My divorce was contentious because my spouse lied to delay and impede it, not because custody was never an issue. Not then, not now, and never in a million years. I'll tell those who doubt my divorce that cheating destroys families. This clarification doesn't apply to my post's helpful comments and recommendations. Informational pause over. Finally, the update. My ex was arrested for domestic violence and child abuse the day after my post. The boy's father complained. My ex's wife defended him, saying her kid was a brat and had hit him and his younger brothers before. I was startled because my ex never stated the youngster was beaten. My ex's sister-in-law said her brother never mentioned anything. My kids were asked if their stepbrother had touched or harmed them. Both declined. My kids can tell me anything, and they said no. After the incident, my ex and his wife revised their tale. Their story is that the youngster misbehaved, my ex went to talk to him, and the boy hit him first, so the mother smacked her son to get him off my ex. Our child protection authorities are strict when a case is interesting or the child is harmed severely. I haven't seen the teen. The teen is in an abused youth shelter. Edit. Minors reported for physical abuse are placed in a safe place until a gazelle chamber interrogation and forensic medical evaluation. Return them to the parent after confirming safety.